Hello, dear Elvira and Michael, and welcome to our 13th Transylvania Tango Marathon in Brasov, the longest tango event, international tango event in Romania. So it's a pleasure to have you here, and I would like to tell us, first of all, something about your tango experience, about you, like a CV, a short CV. Elvira?
Okay, well, my tango CV will be a little bit shorter because I danced tango less than Michael, but it was quite a rich life since I started to dance. And what can I say? It's all my life. I'm living with tango, I'm meeting people from tango, I'm traveling because of tango, I'm listening to tango music, and it's pretty much my life now.
When did you start tango, Argentine tango?
I started my first encounter happened in 2010, but it didn't go for long. It went about for a year. Then I had to stop, and then in 2015 I started really serious, let's say. So every day practicing and learning, and since that day I never stopped. So
what makes you to come to join the tango scene? Any particular subject or?
Well, for me as a dancer, I was dancing all my life.
Because you have a ballet background,
yes,
right?
Ballet background, and also some jazz, modern dancing, contemporary. I actually liked different styles of dance, but at that moment I remember I was really into contemporary and contact improvisation dance. I really was fascinated with this communication in dance. So when two dancers can improvise together without talking, without planning, exactly, knowing each other. And so I entered tango from contact improvisation.
Okay, great. How about you, Michael? Let's see, Michael's...
Well, to start, I would say that we have been dancing a little over a year together, which is a very short time.
It's great, you're great
for a tango couple, yes. But I think that our past experiences before tango, and for me it was mostly competitive ballroom dance, or dance sport as we can say, because it's not the social format, but rather competing and having a professional career of a ballroom dancer, teaching, competing, performing, yes. Not only those experiences, but the actual experiences of dancing tango on our path of meeting somehow prepared us for dancing with each other. So when the couple begins to work together or begins to dance together, you can feel more of a match to each other from the very beginning, or perhaps you can have two professional dancers dancing together, you can feel the level, but not necessarily the match. So we had a good start in tango. We initially felt a match in the way we felt the movement and in the way we perceived the music. And so I think that allowed us to develop quick as a couple. So the past is the past. It's been a long way coming. I started, my first contact with tango was in 2000, 2001, when I met Carlos Gavito.
In America?
In America. That was my inspiration to begin tango. But I did not seriously put myself into it until maybe 2004. And what I mean 2004 is the moment where I stopped all other dance activities and I went on only with tango. So this is my brief history.
It's interesting to switch from another dances just to Argentine Tango, like you also did, from contact improvisation, and that changed our lives, your lives as well. Do you also have a ballet background?
No, I have not danced any ballet, but ballroom dancing since 10 years old. That prepares you for being any type of dancer. But I would say that ballet dancers are generally more trained.
Okay, how about your experience at Transylvania Tango Maraton? Because you had beautiful classes, people were very happy. Of course, you are for the first time in Romania, first time in Brasov city, and I'm very curious about your experience. Did you enjoy it? Did you?
Yes, it was quite touching, in fact. People were very, very warm, and it was very nice to see, even though people were different level, but they were full of interest, and they were asking questions, and they were really into what they were doing. They really wanted to get better, and it was very nice to see. Yeah, it was something special, yes.
And for you, Michael?
I think that whenever we teach group classes, master classes, workshops, in a new environment, and this was a new environment for us, yes? At first you don't know the group, you don't know the dancers, so the first day is always the challenging day. You need to figure out what are these people about, sort of finding the right key to the dancers, to find a way to engage them into conversation, into asking questions, into trying to get them to listen, to get them to interact. It's a little bit like a playground. You're a school teacher and you have new children, or you are the new teacher for the children, and you need to let them know that they are safe with you and that they are okay to play. This is a little bit my perception of being in a new environment in general. And of course, working in the European community, and largely Eastern European community, yes, there is this first impression that we get from each other, we East Europeans, yes, is there is a certain state of being reserved, almost cold. So the first impression is never really, I think, the true impression. When you get to know the people a little bit, when we all relax a little bit, you find out that behind that, let's say mask,
yeah.
there is a lot of kindness and emotion and warm feeling. So this is just experience. You have 3 days or 4 days during the Marathon Festival to get to know each other, to interact, and the more time you spend together, the more you understand that we are one tango family in a way.
Yes.
So
Yes,
this is my impression.
Yes. I also wanted to say about the milongas. Here was so many people, and I would say they all were so happy to dance together. And what impressed me also is there was a lot of respect on the dance floor. Like I would not see any couples would bump to each other. It was a beautiful experience just to watch people dance. Lots of really nice embraces and respect on the dance floor.
For the past 2 years, I haven't organized a marathon basically because I switched to marathon editions back in 2015, I think. Since 2015, we didn't organize any classes during the festival or any festival, just marathon. And this exception was very welcomed to them and especially with you. And as they told you also, most of the time during the pandemic, those 2 years they were watching you, your videos, your tutorial. So they were so happy to figure out that you'll be here. So it's like a dream comes true. You mentioned that it's interesting, Elvira, because you have mentioned that on the dance floor everybody was respecting each other, not bumping into each other, and you mentioned the close embrace. So is how should I ask that? You see this in many countries, or here was specific people engaged with close embrace, with more connection, or is just regular everywhere? Because it's good to know also for us.
I immediately could see it. So obviously I don't see it everywhere, because this is something that I really appreciate, and I could really see a big number of couples like bringing me back to Buenos Aires, let's say, like my feeling this warm embrace and this intention to be embraced by women. It's not everywhere you can see that. Yes.
Yeah, that's also in Europe, right, Michael?
I would say it's a spirit of milonguero that you could see at the Maraton, and the two signature parameters of the milonguero. Yes, it's the gravitating towards the close embrace and dancing compact and respecting line of dance. Even though in the beginning of the night there are fewer couples, you have a lot of space available. Nobody wants to go to dance in the center of the room, because people they're very used to maintaining line of dance, and this was a very organized flow and traffic, and this is not something I see a lot when I travel or when we go to different milongas, even in our hometown. So this is something that deserves to be mentioned.
Yes,
we appreciate
it. Beautiful, and to know that, and it's encouraging also, and that means here in Romania it seems like we do a good job, or at least we are trying to be more precise with traditional and with the real idea of Argentine tango, connecting people and the connection between people also as a social dance.
I would say that as teachers we have responsibility to teach tango in a context of the subculture of Argentine tango, which means as teachers we must explain the line of dance, the basic etiquette, the codes, the códigos, how to invite, what is the right thing to do, what figures are appropriate on the dance floor, or what type of a movement is appropriate when you have a lot of people on the dance floor, as well as to teach about possibly music of Argentine tango and history of tango, how the styles were formed. Because I think when a student sees a bigger picture, then they can appreciate the dance in its entirety, not just the moves, but to see what is it about Argentine tango that makes it special, that makes it different from other dances. Yes, you say you have a painting, yes, and if I don't know much about the art, I look at the painting and all I see is colors and shapes, and okay, then I either like it or I don't like it, or I feel neutral about it, yes? But if I have a tour guide that will tell me, okay, well, this is the history of the painting, and the author had this in mind, and he was experiencing that in this period of time, and the reason he painted with these colors is that and that and that. So when you have the context, you start to look at the painting with different eyes.
Exactly.
And now you understand more about art, so you appreciate it more. There is a potential to appreciate art. Tango is also an art form. Even social tango is an art form, and the art of tango. This is the idea, actually.
The idea, and your company is named the Art of Tango.
So when I think you understand the context as a student of tango, and we're all students of tango anyways, we're learning each day about this dance, we can appreciate this art form on a different level. And with that comes respect for the culture, for the Argentine culture, for the international culture of tango, because now tango became truly an international dance. We can talk about the origins of it, but also we must admit that there is just as much tango now in Romania, in Germany, in France, in Russia, in Asian countries, anywhere you go. We have plans to go to New Zealand next year. I mean, the parts of the world we never dreamt of going for tango. This is really, this is really something
Yes, it is an art, of course, and to mention also that Argentine Tango, it is included since, I think, 2009 in UNESCO Immaterial Patrimonio. So, what do you think about, or for us as a teacher, and especially for you, or what do you suggest for the other teachers, how to teach this spirit of Argentine Tango to the students? Because in the first place, when they are coming to the classes, they just see something on the internet, and they just want to do that figures. I saw on the heels on the top of the floor, and I want to do that too. So it's a little bit a long path to make them to stay, and to make them to have a little bit more patience with this field.
I think it's important to again explain to the students that it's not just a dance, but it's a social dance, and the social aspect is the root. And I think it's important to take the students to milongas as soon as possible. Maybe if it's too early for the men, because for men it's more difficult to enter milongas, maybe to organize some small milongas where you can kind of play milonga, so people would try.
Practilonga, something between practica and milonga, informal milonga.
Exactly, so people would have a taste of it, of this, contact with the person maybe you don't know, or, maybe you never dance. You saw that person at the group, but you never danced with that person, but you take a risk. So, because it's an interesting experience that usually really touches you and makes you want to continue, make you want to get better, and moves you forward, I would say.
Yeah, I remember my first experience with a milonga in New York, because I have started there, and when I went to milonga at La Nacional, because it was one of the top, as you know.
That was one of the few milongas I used to go to, yes.
La Milonga, Triangolo,
yes.
Ukrainian, Lafayette, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to La Nacional, and I saw all these ladies, beautiful ladies, and doing also like ganchos, boleros, and like a ballerina, and I said, oh my God, I have two options, just to drop the classes, because I will never do something like that, or to just try my best, and this is it. So also probably is inside of us the way what motivates us to keep going, because it's not easy, right? To continue with this dance.
Well, when I started tango dancing, I think my goal was to perform, because I came from a professional dance background, and I saw myself do this. I said, okay, yes, this is what I can do, this is what I want to do. I was not interested in a social aspect. Not much at all.
Okay, so you had a goal straight.
I had a goal straight to the stage, yes. But my first maestro, very influential person in my life, I constantly talk about him, Carlos Gavito. One night after we finished workshops, he asked, are you going to milonga tonight? And I said, oh, I have to practice tomorrow, blah, 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 excuses. He looked at me and he said, well, if you're not going to milonga, you're not a real tango dancer. And that's it. That's all he said. And he put that idea in my mind. And from that moment, I could not live with the thought that I am not a real tango dancer. So I can say that teachers that teach the best their students, especially in the beginning stage of their tango path, are the ones who are rooted in a social dance, the ones that go to milongas themselves. They know how to navigate the space, they know how to dance in a compact milongas. They have been to Buenos Aires, they have studied with few fundamental maestros, perhaps from Buenos Aires, because that's still the root of the dance, and then they can pass that knowledge and that love for tango to the students. And so that would be ideal option, ideal vision,
I remember once Carlos Perez said the best move or the best step in tango is the pause. To take a break and just to connect with yourself first of all. So I think also it's most of the time all about this, to connect first of all with yourself, like in life, right? In a real life. And by the way, what means tango for you behind the tango classes, the tango performances, just outside? I know it seems strange because you are already related most of the time only to the tango, but as an idea, as another experience.
As I said, tango is in all the parts of my life right now, I'd say, because it creates my style, my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So because of tango, we are traveling, and because we are traveling, we're meeting people, and this meeting connected with tango. And so we meet a lot of tango people, and I don't know. Right now, it's difficult for me to imagine my life without tango. It's like a big chunk of my life.
Behind tango is tango.
Yes, exactly. So,
how about you, Michael?
Yes, we cannot fully separate ourselves from tango because we are in a profession of being tangueros, a couple that teaches and performs. But I think that if we look from a different angle, one of a great philosophers of the 20th century, Bruce Lee, in his interview about martial arts, answered that any form of studying an art, including martial art, it could be the art of tango, it could be martial art, it could be studying painting, it's mostly about discovering yourself through the means of studying something. So at the end of the day, you end up learning about self. We all need some context, another form of art or another person to interact with, to learn more about ourselves, because we are not isolated. We are working and living in a society. And in that sense, tango is also helping you to learn about yourself, maybe sometimes to find your shadow sides of you or your fears, and maybe it helps somebody to overcome the fear of being close to another human, or
I think that's the
maybe
most,
to gain confidence. For the leader, it could be to gain confidence because you take charge when you lead. So you must, for that 15 minutes, become the leader inside the couple to make all the decisions. I've met some women that told me that I make decisions every day in my life about everything. Tango is the only moment that I don't want to make any decisions. I want to be feminine. I want to relax. I want to be led. I've heard these kind of things. Or like you mentioned, to take a pause, to not rush. This was something that Gavito used to say all the time. He used to say, when the beat plays, nobody forces you, nobody rushes you to start to move with the first beat. You need to take a moment, listen to the music, let it be absorbed in your heart, in your body, and then later start to move the feet. And we can say, yes, you can apply the same in life. And we often move from point A to point B to point C, doing things, and at the end you die. So it's a good idea, even during the day, to catch yourself running around from one place to another, doing one thing or another, and to give yourself a break, and to just have a cup of coffee, which is my favorite, and to just stop, to pause, to remember that this is a process to be enjoyed. And so tango is very much the same experience for me. I like to dance rhythmical tangos, but I also like to dance melodic tangos together with Elvira, where taking time is the essential part of the dance. Taking time to appreciate the moment, taking time to appreciate each other, taking time just to appreciate that you can breathe. And I think this is really, tango is a form of meditation for two people.
Yes.
You know.
Form of meditation,
Challenge
sure.
as well.
Yes, but it can also transform your life outside of tango, because you become a more balanced person, perhaps, if you can get that experience and transfer it to your life. That. Notice I lead this also slow. Give time. Okay. If I go with a rhythm and fast, this is a better way for sure. Saves us energy. And we need also adjustment of direction. And we don't get the tricks. And sometimes you want to do this.
Noche de buscar y de sentir la lluvia en el cristal detrás de mi balcón. Ella aquí no está, pero es igual la siento caminar sobre mi corazón. Desde las sombras yo le escucho que me nombra y de las sombras le contesto amor, amor. Ella vuelve a mí, ¿para qué? Si no me quiere más, dice que ha perdido. No me importa el amor que le di, no. Yo no quiero dar su querer, no.
And that's interesting about what you said, learning about yourself, that it's true for me also. And also like finding yourself, finding what is yours and what is not yours, what you really feel, yes, and like be patient with yourself, patient with others. Yeah, this definitely there are things you learn about life through tango, sure.
Yeah, so that's the answer. Learning the life through the tango, because there are a lot of challenge, and regarding also the fears and everything, the obstacle you have to, and especially from my experience as a instructor, tango instructor, is about the most common fear is about embracing the other person.
Yes, and it's very culture specific also. In different parts of the world, people feel differently about letting somebody so close into your personal space. In some countries, it's a norm to hug and to kiss. Argentinian culture and Italian culture are very much about kissing and hugging, and you feel very family-like to people you just met
without any
yesterday.
Sexual intention.
Yes, of course, it's
people
not
has to understand
related to
that.
that. Yes, and then there is a culture of keeping the distance. You know, for example, in Russian culture, if you extend your hand to shake the hand but keep the distance, it's a well-accepted form. But if you already know the person very well, or it's your family, then a hug between a guy and a guy, for example, is very acceptable form of communication, but it's not initially there. It's just culture specific. I imagine in Japan, keeping a certain distance would be also a tradition. You don't just go around touching people or hugging and kissing them.
Yeah.
So, you know, tango culture is very human. It's opening you up to experience of being close to another and breaking the boundaries of your initial culture in which you grew up.
The boundaries, breaking the boundaries and breaking the bad habits, maybe as well. You have mentioned Russia. How is the tango community and tango scenes in Russia? Of course, you have Russian roots. You also have U.S. citizenship.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But it's interesting to. I don't want to go into the political things. Just the tango, Argentine tango, how it works at those days.
Well, we're based in Moscow now, and Moscow tango life is really rich. There is a huge community of people who love tango and go to milongas every night we have several milongas. You can choose which format you prefer, bigger, smaller, more intimate, more, more social. So it's growing, it's blooming, I'd say. Yes.
Yes.
More and more people.
Because we also travel to other cities in Russia and also former USSR republics. Yes. For example, I was lucky to visit Kazakhstan.
It's another world, right?
I've been to Belarus before I started dancing with Elvira, and I can say that tango is expanding in the Eastern Europe, in particular in the former Soviet Union, let's put it this way, yes? And there is more and more interest, and a lot of interest from the younger crowd. And
which is very good.
This has a lot of potential because it's important to bring new people to the dance.
To give future to the dance.
Yes, and this way we extend the life of tango through generations, and so it's quite a good trajectory.
And it's nice to see, for example, when we teach at some festivals in Moscow, there are some new faces, and you ask them, "Where are you from?" And they saying these names, and you think, wow, in this city we have tango now. It's like somewhere very far.
You
it's
can
a very
find that
small
place on
town,
the map, but
people
yes,
already dancing there.
they have communities, smaller communities,
and
but they are
really
everywhere,
great.
right?
Yes. So it's spreading,
Maybe it started for most of us with tango music and the orchestras. A friend of us told us about his friend living in Italy, I think, who is always listening Argentine tango music, but he's not willing to go to dance. He's just enjoying so much the Argentine tango music.
Yes.
And I think that is possible as well, right? What do you think? Do you really have to dance tango, or if you listen Argentine tango, you just...
Well, again, it's a very particular genre that is certainly not for everybody, and people that appreciate Argentine tango music, I think, first of all, are people that understand Spanish language, particularly the lunfardo, the way of talking in Buenos Aires, a very specific way of speaking Spanish, Castellano, lunfardo, because a lot of it is slang that was born in 1930s and 40s and 50s, and the modern generation does not always understand the slang to fully understand the lyrics of tango. You need to really be a fanatic of tango. And I think that the music itself is beautiful. You can listen to Astor Piazzolla and be touched by the music and the sound of bandoneon. But the lyrics the poetry brings another layer. And to fully understand tango poetry, you need to speak the language and even better understand the context, because the context adds another layer. So it's quite possible to enjoy poetry. I've met in the United States dancers that come from different backgrounds, somebody from Peru or Colombia, young dancers, and they would tell me, I remember my grandfather was listening to tango music in Peru back in the days, and that was my first contact with tango. Even though my grandfather did not dance tango, tango was already a popular form of musical expression.
Culture.
And on the other hand, I can enjoy rock and roll and listening to Elvis Presley without knowing how to dance rock and roll. Because rock and roll is a worldwide phenomenon that is still quite popular. In fact, they play it in Buenos Aires in the milongas, and the older generation gets up to dance, and they dance in a fantastic way, because when they grew up, that was the era of rock and roll. They were young men and women in the era of rock and roll in the 60s, and so I can say that music will always be first and dance will always be secondary. This is the way I see it.
Yes, that's true.
Because
in Buenos Aires, for example, you can sit in a taxi and the taxi driver will listen to some tango and sing it, but he never danced it. So, and also there are some tangos that are not for dancing. There are specifically for listening and just, crying.
Like in Gold Age, when the orchestras were playing tango music, and people were at the restaurants listening to music and just writing down to the waiters list, which songs the orchestra would like to play, just to be heard, not to be danced.
it's quite possible. I wasn't there during that time, but I can say that once
I read about that. So
I once had a couple come to the class in the US where I was teaching regular classes, group classes, beginner classes. There was a couple, an American lady and Argentine-born gentleman. Mm-hmm. The gentleman was in his early 80s. Wow. He looked fantastic. He was very fit. And he was trying some steps together with her in a beginner class, like an introductory class. And then as we started talking, when I played some Disarli music, mm-hmm. he said, I used to go to milongas when I was a very young boy, a young man. And I used to go watch the orchestra of Carlos Disarli play on Monday and Aníbal Troilo play on Tuesday. He said, I did not dance tango much at that time, but it was my first contact with tango. So I was very curious. I stopped the class and I asked him to talk for 5 minutes about the experiences because I was very jealous that this man actually saw the orchestras of Troilo, D'Arienzo, Disarli live, going to the milonga and saw these orchestras. It's something special for us, tango fanatics and tango teachers. You know, we would give a lot to go to that era and to be able to hear I would want to see Frank Sinatra because I like Frank Sinatra's music. But Frankie is gone. I can hear his music now, but oh yes, I would love Ella Fitzgerald to be in the concert. It's unfortunate that I could not live or relive that era. There are many great artists these days, and they preserve the music, the traditional music of Argentine tango, like Solo Tango Orchestra based out of Moscow. They play a lot of traditional repertoire and they try to preserve the sound of Disarli in the way that Disarli was played. Yes, there are European orchestras, the Hyperion Ensemble, yes, Tango Bardo Orchestra, yes, guys from Poland that were playing in Germany.
Yeah.
They were the four young men. They were fantastic. They have their own unique sound. Bando Negro.
Mm-hmm. Bando Negro.
I know them well, but I keep forgetting the name because it's an unusual name. Bando Negro for four white Polish guys. They're young and fantastic.
And they have this sense of tango. Tango
traditional, even if they are
exactly has
a
little bit of this.
They put their own spin to it, but they're quite excellent.
Yes.
So we do have a lot of tango musicians that are bringing music, and they play sometimes at the concert halls that brings the audience of non-dancers just to go and listen to the tango music like it used to be in the 60s, 70s and 80s in Buenos Aires, in Teatro Colón. Mm-hmm. It's an equivalent of Bolshoi Theater, the main theater of South America, for the events like that, for ballet, for opera, and you would go to hear Horacio Salgan Orchestra play, and it would be a 20-piece orchestra with a singer, Roberto Goyeneche, for example, and people come just to the concert, just to hear the orchestra, and then no dancing on that night, yes, because the tango music also took a shape of the almost symphonic orchestra. It was something magnificent, even though the era of the social dance was down during those times, but the era of tango music kept going on into a slightly different direction, music for listening. Yes, and I saw Horacio Salgan, by the way, once in a cafe,
yes.
sitting 3 tables away from me, and my partner at that time, Angeles, told me, "That's Horacio Salgan singing." And I was a bit ignorant of the tango music at that point, so I said, "What? Who? Who is that man?" Now
we're dancing with his music.
I know more about tango music, and I appreciate very much that kind of music.
If you'd have a chance to go back in time and someone will give you this, let's say, gift to see an orchestra, an old orchestra, which orchestra will you pick up to go to hear the concert? I don't know, Di Sarli, D'Arienzo, Troilo, let's say...
Pugliese.
Pugliese? Okay, you are with it.
I want to hear Pugliese live.
I would love to see Troilo playing bandoneon.
I would love D'Arienzo because he has and he's full of energy. He
Good.
was actually.
Tonight in a dream.
Tonight in a
We
dream.
may have that, but that's about it. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were talking about music, just as an idea also when I start tango, basically what brought me to tango was buying a CD with a traditional tango, Argentine tango, not with nuevo or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I played at home, and the first song that I have heard was Carlos Di Sarli, Bahia Blanca, and it was love at the first hearing. So I was just like, wow, all night listening over and over that CD.
Yes.
That's the way I start.
Well,
so
my
it's
contact
possible,
was also first with the music before the
Okay.
dance. But it was a tape of Astor Piazzolla.
Piazzolla.
So, because we did not encounter any Di Sarli in the CD stores back then. There were not even too many CD stores. I used to live in Moscow at that time. So we had some cassettes that we could record and pass on to each other, and somebody gave me a cassette of Astor Piazzolla, and that was my first moment that caught my attention strongly. So there was a sound of bandoneon.
You have mentioned about the bandoneon and the sound of orchestras. During the Transylvania Tango Marathon, we also had in Piazza Sfatoli at Outdoor Guerrilla Milonga this wonderful couple, from the musician couple from Cluj. They were playing piano and bandoneon, and the people were so, not only tangueros and milongueros were so pleased with that, but also it's a new beginning, let's say, for Romania with this small concert, and also orchestra. They also have an orchestra, Cluj Tango Orchestra, but things are also moving on in Romania. So
yes, and it was amazing to see so many people from the street sitting and watching people dancing.
So much interest.
Waiting
so
the
much
next,
interest. It was
so much
just
interest.
amazing.
Such a big crowd of non-dancers just
like a concert.
standing, watching there. I mean,
listening,
that's something. Listening,
the
yes.
sound of this, the music also.
Yes.
Even for some, some people, because you cannot please everyone with some comments like, it's a show off or something like that. But the most of the people and the articles I read and the comments on social media were for good, and the people understood and just enjoyed. And of course, the other people were like, they were just showing off or dancing there and competing. About competing, it's important to mention that and to clarify, I think, this aspect, because a lot of people think Argentine tango is about competition. People met in Piazza Sfatoli to compete, and and I said it's not about competing, and it's not a contest. We are just meeting and enjoy the social dance named Milonga, and we also enjoy and sharing with the people from the street. It's not about something else.
Well, I have nothing against competitions, because watching our students train and wanting to excel because they want to dance better at the competition, that is an aspect that can push you to practice and to study the dance more. Although competition itself seems like the goal,
Like in Buenos Aires,
I think that the bigger goal is to improve your dance. I think our mission is exactly that, to spread the love for the dance. So what you're doing, organizing an event and taking it to the streets, there are two major ways to get people interested in what we do. One is to take tango back to the street where it came from, in a busy place like Central Square of Brasov. You have so many people, so many tourists also passing by. Perhaps that part of the event, the milongas that you create outside, will get somebody interested, and people will continue with the thought of, oh, I need to learn this dance, or I always wanted to learn the dance, or oh, look how beautiful people dance on the street. So you put a spark. You are fulfilling your role as the organizer by doing that. And the second way is tango shows. However we feel about dancing a scenario, whether it's the best form art or not, whether we should keep tango on the floor for milongueros, it still does its role of bringing people to the dance floor, because somebody may go to the theater, see a show, get inspired, wanting to do all the ganchos and all the tricks and leads, and then when they come to the class they realize there's so much beauty in basic, in caminata, in embrace, in salida, in Carlos Di Sale music, that they change their mind, and now they see that actually you can dance tango in a very simple form and enjoy it a lot. So this is our combined mission, for us to perform in a way where we can get people inspired, and for you to organize and to teach in a way where more people get interested, and then tango will live forever and ever.
Like those 2 nights when you were also teaching just for the tango community here in Brasov, combined level of students, and even the beginners who had only, 2 months of classes, tango classes, they were joining, and they had the courage to subscribe and to get a chance.
And some beginners are faster than others. We were all beginners at some point, and some are faster than others, and some are really into, yes, I'm going to learn this dance, and they practice and they go to milongas. So we witness that as well. So beginner can be, if beginner is motivated, it could be a great dancer, social dancer in 1, 2, 3 years of tango. So maybe it's something.
Yeah, different people need different motivation. If somebody needs motivation as a competition, it's okay. If somebody needs motivation as to go to milonga, okay, then you have to help him to get to milonga, or
definitely,
or maybe to listen more interesting music, maybe.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. It's not easy.
There are different ways.
In a different ways, and it's not an easy mission, but it's not impossible as well. So we are very close to finish this interview. Do you have any particular, ideas or something to share with the Romanian crowd, or to say to them, tango since in Romania?
I would say to dancing tango people in general, I would love you to enjoy tango, and even if there are some difficult times where maybe something technical is not going, remember that it's about you enjoying tango. So love it and enjoy it.
And I would say that I can open up a little secret and say that you already invited us to Tango Brasov Marathon 2023.
Yes,
so we love the idea of interacting with the local dancers once again. And like I said in the class today, we will come and check on you
if you were
to
practicing.
see if you were practicing our stuff.
Okay, serious.
Because we are going to keep teaching you how to dance tango.
Elvira, Michael, thank you very much for being here.
Chin chin.
Thank you so much.
Chin chin.
Thank you.
Chin chin.
And see you next year. Thank you for watching us. And why not just have this courage to rediscover yourself, to just to taste the tango and the art of tango, like Michael said, and maybe, who knows, you'll join us in the community and the milongas, and why not at the festivals and marathons. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Doina.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview.